thank you for tuning in to Classical Crossover Magazine. I am so excited to be here with Stephanie Horowitz-Mulry. She is the winner of our Classical Crossover Star 2023 competition. So good to have you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I have had the treat of getting to hear you rehearse a bit here. She's absolutely has a gorgeous, gorgeous voice. So can we go back to the beginning, Stephanie? Do you remember, did you start singing because you were in a musical family, or how did that all begin?
Okay, so kind of. My dad used to play the bass, and he wrote some songs on the old 80s Yamaha keyboard.
Nice.
And so I grew up with that. And then my grandfather used to sing on my mom's side, but he lost his voice from a stroke before I was born. So I never actually really heard him sing. So there's bits of it, but I wouldn't say it was around every day. I wasn't in a family of stars, but there were some scattered around. Yeah, and my grandma, she told me that she played Marion in high school and the Music Man. So there was that. So there was always a love and appreciation of music and a support for it, which is really important. Nobody was discouraging in any way, and they were all very supportive of what I wanted to do. They wanted to make sure that I had ways of earning a living, but other than that, it was always invest in the voice lessons and take you to the concerts, and it was really good. So I was able to do it, luckily, with their support.
Oh, that's great. I think that's a big part of it, is having the family backing behind you.
I really think so, yeah.
And then so you studied classical voice in college, is that correct?
Well, yeah, I was a theater kid growing up. My first love is pop music. I would jam out to Cyndi Lauper,
nice.
And Whitney Houston. And then I started going to camp every summer because my parents worked. And I went to theater camp, and I fell in love with musical theater. And so that was it for me. I was Broadway. And my family said, we don't want you to go to school for musical theater. We really want you to have sort of a marketable career skill. So I ended up going for music education, but at the same time, I was starting to really open up to classical music, and my voice felt really good in it. And by the end of high school, I was like, maybe I want to try this classical thing. And so I went to the Crane School of Music, and Crane made me a musician, I will say, definitely. And I had some great training along the way. And I decided that after that, I wanted to go to grad school for vocal performance. And so I really feel like at NEC, I got really good experience, and I learned the operatic rep. And then I was, pursuing it from there. So it was an evolution. And now it's come full circle, because now I'm kind of in this weird gray area between all of them. So
our favorite crossover category. Yeah. It's perfect. So what was, for your voice, was it something that was very evident always that you had this high voice, or how did that evolve for you?
No, I think I wanted to do the soprano stuff, and I wanted to be a belter and all the things I wanted to do. But I remember showing up to my first voice lesson and saying, I'm an alto. And she was like, let's see. And now I do that to all my students too. I'm like, yeah, let's see if you are an alto. And within a couple lessons, she opened me up. She was a great Fran Kaufman. She opened me up, and I was singing alto in all of my choirs that I was in, and then I started just branching up, and they gave me a chance, and they're like, oh, okay, fine, you can do that. And then that was it, and I was a soprano.
So once you graduated, were you trying to get work in that opera sphere, or were you also doing some Broadway and cabaret? Because I know now you have quite a large list of things you do.
Yeah.
But when you first graduated, did you have a sense of that direction?
When I graduated undergrad, I was mostly focused on getting into grad, so I think I kept doing that trajectory. And then afterwards, I was like, I'm gonna do opera, and I was like, I'm gonna get in a company somewhere, and people were just telling me your voice is going this way, you should go that way, and I do, and once I did my first opera, I realized, oh, it's music theater, so cool. I like that stuff. I like that. It's different music, but it's still theater. So I was very much into that. I did the calls and the studios and all that stuff. Studios that aren't even here anymore, unfortunately. And I I did okay. I got some compromario roles and some covers in the city, and some covers of major roles. Nothing like really took off though, and I think part of the reason is because I'm like such a people pleaser. I'm a recovering people pleaser. Yeah. And I wanted to just do it right. I wanted to do it right. I wanted to do it Mozart's way, Puccini's way. Yeah. And I stopped. I lost track, or maybe I didn't know that like we're supposed to be artists and we're supposed to have points of view and things to say and to bring the joy to it. And it was just really obvious that I was just trying to get hired and just trying to get like the acceptance and the recognition. And I didn't, there was one audition season where I didn't book anything, nothing. And I was like, okay, this is about me. This is not like this is about me. And my teacher's like, well, you're just trying to get a job. Stop trying to get a job. And I was like, oh. And so I had to really regroup and find the joy. And then I found that I was finding the joy, but I was also finding the joy in things besides opera. Mm-hmm. And so when I was like close to turning 30, I was like, what am I doing, like pushing this other stuff away in favor of this thing that is not working for me right now, you know? And once I said, let me just try some things. So I did a cabaret workshop, and I did some New York City cabaret, and I was put into a jazz orchestra, and I sang at a restaurant. I got a restaurant like pop gig playing at the piano behind the bar, and it just all opened up for me. And it was like, oh, like this makes sense, because I was always like singing karaoke on the slide, you know. The secret, you know. And I was like, why am I keeping this a secret? Why don't I just do it? And once I did that, a lot opened up for me, and I was able to still sing classically. I felt more balanced. I felt like I didn't like need it to like validate me, you know? And then I could bring more joy and a little bit more perspective into it. And I found that I really like exploring music that like isn't one thing or another. It really just kind of uses different styles and different performance practices from different styles. Yeah. I really like that. I think it's something new, and I think that there's a place for it, you know? Like it's not the purity of the classical music and the very specific things that it asks of you all the time, but it does have elements of that, and there is a space for the experimental within that, you know? A little pop classical.
Well, obviously, that's what we love at Classical Crossover Magazine. But I just think, too, it's like you mentioned, being true to yourself, because all these things that you talked about, it's something you had along your journey. So I think it's not like sometimes if you just go, oh, I just want to do just because, and it's a bit put on, versus this is who you are.
They know. Yeah. Like if you're just trying to show up and do it right, like what are you giving that somebody, like someone else is going to come there and bring all the love and passion that you're not bringing, and of course they're going to get the job to them. You know, you can blame whatever you want to, but and it's funny because I ran into one of my mentors, a teacher I studied with for like 9 years, and I ran into her in Trader Joe's. And I was talking to her about like everything, blah blah blah, and she said to me in a very non-judgmental way, and she was like, "You don't love it enough. You don't love opera enough to do it at the expense of everything else." And I was like, yeah. It's like, not that I don't love it. I love it, but I have room in my heart for all of these other things. Yeah. And I can't dedicate the time that it takes to like get where I really need to go there. And I need to be honest about that. So it's not it's nothing to be ashamed of. Is just be honest about who you are and what you want. And I think that people, once I did that too, like people started paying attention more to what I was doing and not less.
Yeah. Is that when your songwriting also started, or was it kind of also always there in the wings?
Okay, so this is interesting. I always wanted to write songs as a kid, and my high school boyfriend wrote songs and was a composer, and he's good. He's still doing it. And I was really inspired by him, and he taught me about chords. So by the end of high school, I was writing a show. I was writing like songs, like pop songs in different styles and like show tunes. And then when we broke up, I was so devastated. I wrote like a whole musical about him. And so I came into college thinking I'm gonna sing and I'm going to compose and I'm gonna write music. But by the time I took composition, I got really disheartened because everything I would submit, he would just be so knowledgeable and say, well, this is derivative of this language used in this century by these people. And this is derivative of this thing used by these people. And then where's the new sound? Where's the new sound?
Oof, yeah.
And so I eventually found it. My like final composition was, I got a good grade on it and people liked it. But I was like, that took everything I had. And I don't think I have that in me. So I literally stopped writing music for like 10 years. And I was like, fine, that's not my gift. It's fine. And because I'm like, I'm just not a composer. And then it took me, I'll tell you what it took me. In 2017 or so, I had like a bad bronchitis and mixed with autoimmune issues and medicine switching issues. And I had I developed a throat condition.
Yeah.
And I had to cancel all my gigs and shut up for a while and be quiet. And that was, in a way, devastating, in a way, completely life-saving, because I was able to bounce back. I had voice therapy, and I basically just got on a new autoimmune medicine, and it kind of helped me. But during that quiet time, I started hearing the music again, and I was like, I don't care if this is good. I don't need it to be good, because no one else is going to hear it. I'm going to do it for myself, because I still have music inside, and it was kind of my way of being like, I'm not done.
Yep.
You know? Like I'm going to find a way to be having a life of music. I don't know what that looks like yet. And so I started writing these kind of jazz and pop songs. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine if it's derivative. It's fine if it's derivative. And then I ended up taking a songwriting mentorship with Kathy Heller, who's now like a kind of a guru of wisdom, I don't know, for everybody. And she basically said, we want familiar things in pop music. We want that. It's comforting. You can't just give us everything completely new. Then there's nothing for us to hold on to, nothing for us to relate to. And I'm like, oh. And in this like moment, I was like, I'm not a composer. I'm a songwriter. And like, bam. And then I was like, that was it. And so I figured, since my voice was like a little janky, that I could just pivot and become a recording artist and like write songs that I could handle, like, you know, saying things I want to say about things I care about and messages that I really want to share, but put it in a way that I can handle it, and then I can record it. So if I feel like I'm not strong that day, I can stop. If I feel good, I can hop on the mic and record, and I don't have to worry about being at the peak of good voice all the time.
Yeah.
And then through that process, I started to heal, and then COVID gave me a real big break so I could rest. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I like things were coming back. And then I had these new coping skills to help with certain areas where I didn't feel comfortable. So in some ways, like, I'm back. Some ways I'm like not quite back. And in some ways I'm better than I was before. Yeah. So that was what gave me the songwriting back. It was like a long hiatus where I didn't hear music, and now I allow myself to hear whatever comes through. And if it's crap, like, fine, like, no one has to hear that crap. And I think that's something that classical music does not cover, is like, we need crap. We need crap. You need crap. You need to go in the studio and make crap and sound like crap, right? And just embrace it. And like, that's your personal time, right? And then if you keep working at it, eventually something good's gonna come out, and that's what you show people. I think that this art of crap is lost on everyone, and that was like a really big thing to give permission to myself to just play, because we have this idea of perfection and this striving for this ideal. And this ideal is something that was given to us by somebody else, you know? So I feel like if we play, we can find the new ideal of what is our inner wisdom's ideal. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't remember even what the question was. I'm just rambling now.
No, we're talking about your songwriting.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. And this leads into our first song. Stephanie has, it was her audition song for the competition. And I'm excited for you to hear it.
Okay, can I tell a quick story about it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really thought, like, in that injury time, I really thought that, like, Stephanie Horowitz soprano was, like, dead. I thought that was gone. And I started getting this, like, pang, like, when I would, like, see a show, like I used to. I would see a show or see a concert and be like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not auditioning for this? Why am I not submitting for this? And I was like, why are you bothering me with inspiration right now? Why are you making me feel this way? I can't step forward anymore. I've seen too much and I've been through too much. I'm not perfect anymore. And this very overwhelming wisdom from wherever came and said, then you step out imperfectly and you be broken and you be unfinished and unhealed. And somebody else will see you do that and feel okay to step out also. And just own it, you know, just be okay with the fact that you're not perfect, because even if you think you are, you're not. So that's where this song came from. I really feel like it was like me almost like rebirthing myself in a way, because it's like I'm here, but I'm not the same as I was, and that's okay. So that's where this song came from.
The girl that I used to be. Where were you then when I was fearless? Life has battered and broken me, so far from where I'm supposed to be. And yet you appear as I pick up the pieces. I can't meet you at the top where there's glory, but I know down here at the bottom there is grace. So here I stand just as I am. Do you receive me? Here I am, worse for the wear. Do you see me? But I am blessed, broken and blessed. From the wreckage I saw the glow. I heard the message I need to know. It gave me the strength to reawaken. And I can't offer you perfection, but I know if I can't be perfect, I can be brave. So here I stand, just as I am. Will you receive me? Here I am, worse for the wear. Do you see me? I am bruised, I am broken, but I am blessed, broken, and I don't have to be perfect to be deserving. I can stand in my purpose and be worthy.
thank you so much for sharing that beautiful, beautiful song, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I was just telling you in the break that I resonated so much. I've been kind of on a similar vocal journey, and I think a lot of people are, and because of the classical background, it's something hard to speak about.
Yeah.
Because if you admit that you have been vocally imperfect, it's
Right, that's true.
you're kind of brandished with that, and no one wants to work with you. So now that you've done this, I know you're a teacher too. So, you know, you've made these personal discoveries. How is that now with your students? Because I feel like that's such a blessing.
Oh yeah,
for them.
it's different. I can help so many more people. Like I used to really, because the job of a voice teacher is to, someone on a podcast said this very eloquently on the Vocal Fry podcast. They said, our job is to habilitate the voice, but our job is not to rehabilitate the voice. That's someone else's job, an SLP or a laryngologist. But I can help, you know, in accordance with that. I can help so many more students with so many more issues because of the skills I've learned in my own healing process. And I think it's important to talk about, honestly, because we're not indestructible. We're people. We're fleshy people. Yeah. And like things happen, you know, pitchers, they get the pitcher's elbow, whatever, and they get surgery, and nobody's like, well, I think you weren't supporting our pitching. And it's like, it's not about that. Mine had nothing to do with singing. Mine was just bronchitis and other things. But I will say that I was a little in denial about it. So when I was healing, I went back to gigs, maybe a little too soon. But even if it was, it's like we learn things and we grow, and there's never going to be someone. I mean, maybe if you have zero vocal problems forever, like cool for you, that's fine. But we need to talk about it. I'm very vocal about it. No pun intended. But I talk about it because it happened, and I need people to know there's another side. And I also think that like the old school way of teaching is like using nodes. I don't have nodes, but like using nodes as like a scare tactic. Listen to what I say because you might get nodes if you don't. And so we're so afraid of this word, right? Yeah. And I've even had kids come to me and be like, I'm really afraid to get nodes. And I'm like, who told you about that? I didn't tell you about that. And I'm like, okay, well then let's talk about that, because there are people who sing with nodes all the time and you don't know. Yeah. And there are also other ways to fix it. So I think it's important. It's important to talk about. So if anyone needs support for that, hit me up. I will support you.
Absolutely. I love that because like I said, the same experience at 11, I heard about it, and my whole life is just in your brain.
We're so scared. Yeah. But fear is not a way through anything, right? So
absolutely not. So now that you're kind of on this other side, tell us about the different styles you're mixing together, because classical will always be part of you.
Yeah,
but what else are you mixing into it?
I'm too I've lived with it for too long now that it's in my blood all the time. Yeah. But I will say it helps me everywhere, because if I'm in like a songwriting session, even with like a pop person, and they go, we don't know what to do with this chord, blah, 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 blah. And I understand the structure of music and all of those like voice leading examples we did in college. And I'm like, this, you can maintain the common tone here and just switch the chord this way. And they'd be like, oh, well, that's easy. I just know, I have released a pop album at 39. And that's fun. I really love writing pop music.
What's the title?
It's called Stevie M.
Stevie M. Okay.
Yeah, it's my nickname. But it has fun pop music in it. I'm working on a second EP with that too. And I love incorporating pop music. I'm a theater person through and through, so that always kind of bleeds into everything I do. But also, I think that theater has changed, and I think there is a hole that used to be there that it moved on from, and I want to explore that hole, like the beautiful singing and the lyrics and the a lot of things are dance based and like more pop based and very high belty, and I love that. I'm not going to say I don't love that, because I do love that. But
My Fair Lady, all those old classic.
Sound. And the way that they sing those now is different. If you ever notice, it's a different style, and I want to explore bits of what is now and also what was, but in a new way, and saying things that actually relate to people's lives now, because like as much as I love the magic flute, like I'm not gonna sing a suicide aria, it's like it's not related to my life now. Yes. So there's a place for that. But I really want to talk about ideas that I think are important for people to know now in their lives now. And sometimes a classical media will work well for that and sometimes not. So I just have a whole jumbly bunch of sounds, and whatever falls out is what I do pretty much.
Well, I'm a big appreciator of all the variety that you can put together and still make it sound like Stephanie, because your voice is so beautiful and constant.
Like, it's funny because then they go niche down, you gotta stick to one. But niche down doesn't mean you have to stick to one, because if your niche is doing all the things, then you're very, very niched, because some people won't like that.
Yeah.
And then you'll repel them, and then people will be all about it, and that's your niche. So you're good.
Yeah, once you find kind of your tribe that's going to support you throughout.
Yeah.
One interesting thing, as we were getting ready, you mentioned that you almost didn't try out for the competition.
Yeah.
So we have to mention Classical Crossover Stars. Shout out to Patrick Kimmel at Key Clef Productions, who sponsored the competition.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your journey to the competition, Stephanie.
Okay, so I saw the posting of it on the new Forum for Classical Singers, and I was like, what? Because I don't like to do competitions a lot. Because I guess as a lyric soprano, I feel like we get the shaft. Sometimes, I don't know, I don't want to say that because there are lyrics who win, and then that's great for you, and I love you. But a lot of times it goes to the countertenor and the sparkly coloratura, and I don't like competing. I also don't think I'm the best, Like, I just don't. I think there's people who do it better than me, and it's a classical thing usually. I don't compete in the classical realm, in the arena, I guess.
Yeah.
I just don't think I'm the best. So, but in this one, I was like, oh, like, I could do the thing that I do, and that could be competitive,
Yeah.
So I said, I owe it to myself to try. Plus, any time that I have an excuse to write a song and a deadline, that's what I need to do.
Yep.
I need to stretch the muscle. You need to keep working it so you have the clear communication of ideas. So I said, I'm going to do this. I started writing and I got hung up. So I brought in a friend from high school who's a great songwriter to help me just move it along.
Yeah.
We kind of had back and forth about the direction we needed it to go. And I was like, I have to get this done, right? So we decided to do the audition cut of the song that we finished that morning. And I recorded the piano and, made a recording of it, put it in the kitchen, sang it live. The whole thing happened in one day. It was morning until night. And I was like, should I even submit this? The song isn't done. And he was like, no, this is a good cut. And a cut is good. People they know what they like, and then they don't have to listen to too much. So, I was like, fine, we'll finish it later. And we did it. And then the response was really wonderful. And I was so glad to hear that. And I said, okay, if I get to the next level, that was our people, we had to have vote for us. So I sent a mail and I was like, if you wouldn't mind, check this out. If you feel like commenting, please do. And I luckily got enough comments. So I got to the next round and I was like, if I get past this round, then I'm proud of myself. That's all I really need. And then I got the email that I was like, you're in the finals. And I was like, what? And so I texted Matt. I'm like, we're in the finals. And he's like, oh, good. And so he's like, oh, we'll probably have to do the rest of the song now. And then we didn't. So I was like, okay, cool. And what's really funny is I'm the only person who read it like this, but it said, when you're in the finals, we invite you to sing in our crossover Christmas concert.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, good. I have to write a new song for the finals. And because that's the final. I thought that was the finals. And so I said, quick. But then, honestly, by then, you said, why don't you sing a Christmas song? But by then, it was October 9th, and then the October 7th had just happened, and I was really just so distraught from that.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to dedicate this concert to a song about this, for my holiday.
Yeah.
Just processing everything that's happening from a perspective of now, a different kind of Hanukkah song. So that was a great, and so I'm glad I didn't know that it wasn't the finals, because I pushed myself hard to make it as good as possible and get it done on time, get the whole thing done. And then it went my way. I think everybody was so amazingly talented. I made some friends. I think I think the world of all the competitors. So I'm very honored that it went my way, but I know like in every room, it's just a matter of opinions and it could have gone someone else's way. So I'm very happy and I'm very glad to be here.
Well, I think what really resonated, couple things that really resonated. Of course, your beautiful voice, but I think also just the fact that you were doing original music, Stephanie, and in the crossover genre, there's so many covers which we love.
Yeah.
But it's a big point for the future. It has to have more original material, and I think that it was the two. I don't even think the judges realized it was original. I did.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't even think we like put it out there enough. But when we realized, it was just like, what a perfect representation for the genre, not only vocally but also just where you're taking it in terms of songwriting.
Right, and I think I have a clear idea of like what I want crossover music to be. So I think I was like, this is, and people are gonna say, well, that's not what it's supposed to be. And I'm like, well, I don't care because this is what I want to do with it. And I was like, well, then I'll lose, then I'll lose and I will go on with my life. But people saw where I was going with it and liked it. So you just, at a certain point, it's like you have to do what you do. You have to do your thing, and people will like it or not like it, and that doesn't really mean that you should change what you're doing. Like if you have a strong sense of what you think something should be, like just do it, and people will follow it or not.
It kind of comes back to what you were saying with the classical auditions. Yeah. Where maybe you were trying to fit into a box. Yeah. Where this time you were entirely yourself. These last few years you've been developing that.
Yeah, because I've lost the patience to do anything else. And it's like life is too short. I can't. It would take me so much more time to like be someone else. Yeah. It takes me no time at all to be myself. So and then you just follow the passion, right? Like last night I was recording the Broken and Blessed, the updates for the things. And I stayed up late because I had to go to a family party first. And I literally could not sleep because I was so hyped on what I just did. I was like, that was so great. That was so fun. And it's like, this is it. This is what I need to do. Like if something doesn't bring you that much joy, like question if you should be doing it. Yeah. So that's how like when people say follow your bliss, that's what they mean. They don't just be like do what's easier or do what's like available to you immediately. It's like do what you feel that like inner pull to do, like figure out a way to do it. So yeah, I'm really happy I was able to get everything together enough. And I'm happy to be able to sing the full one for you today.
Thank you for being true to yourself, Stephanie. So excited to have you represent the magazine. And I guess the question is, what is next for you, Stephanie?
Well, I feel like this brought me back to life in some ways, so I really appreciate that from you, especially too. So, I'm doing like that first conversation I had with myself, and I was like, why do you want me to step back out now? I need new headshots. I need a website. I need a whole new wardrobe. This is too much, right? And so one thing at a time. So I'm rebuilding my website. I had a consultation with Jillian, who was great. And she really encouraged me to just embrace all the sides and just really like cross over. When I say crossover, like people, what does crossover mean? And I say, okay, this is what people think it means, and this is what I do like with it. Yeah, I cross all the way over and then back. And she's like, put that all in the website. And I was like, really? Because that's really confusing for people. And she's like, but like, that's what it is. Like you're one person. So don't fragment yourself. So that was great. I'm working on that. I'm going to be writing more. The next song that you are going to play, we were very inspired by Bridgerton. So I would like to do more stuff like that. I'm going to release it at some point. So fun times, maybe a concert, definitely more writing, and whatever else pops up that I will try.
Into the universe, whatever the next thing is. Thank you so much for being here in person. I think it's just so lucky that it worked out that we're in the same country, because a lot of the contestants were not. So I wouldn't have had a chance.
States away.
She drove at least 2 to 3 hours to get here, but we're so appreciative, Stephanie. Thank you so much. And everyone, we're going to leave her with their beautiful, beautiful cover of Billie Eilish's
Happier Than Ever. We're calling it Più Felice Che Mai.
Thank you, everyone.
rovinato tutto, hai rubato tutto. Oh, te miei momenti